Hello, I'm Bob Smeerfak, but not really. This series is designed for theological seminary students with approaching exams who have not had time to read the Bible, and for escape artists trying to survive 72 hours in a sealed chamber while lowering their breath rate to 0, and then exit without the audience knowing. David Blaine. This chapter's for David Blaine. Matthew, chapter 28. It's the final chapter. Let's go. In the last chapter, we left the two Marys camping out next to the tombstone. But at dawn on Sunday, they came back to get a look at the tomb, which must mean that at some point they'd had things to do. But now, at least, they'd made it back in time for some major seismic activity caused by a badass celestial being making a trip down from Skytown to peel back the stone and then have a sit-down on top of it. This was not a typical angel. As far as angels go, he was a rock star. He had electric skin and a very, very clean white outfit, the veritable pre-incarnation of David Bowie. Anyway, the soldiers guarding the tomb were so creeped out by him that they couldn't control their own bodies. First, they got the shakes, and then they went limp. So the celestial badass had a few words for the Marys. He said, "Don't freak out, 'cause I know you're looking for the J, that guy who got nailed onto those boards. Well, you won't find him here, because you can't keep a perfect man down, if you know what I'm saying. He's back in the game, just like he told you." Now, the fact that the J-Man had already left the premises conjures some exciting possibilities, because if the angelic rock star rolled away the big stone while they were all there, Jesus must have teleported out of the tomb after he had started breathing again. Either that, or Joe of Arimathea was a sneaky bastard who had carved out a back entrance. Regardless, the angel said, "Come on, I'll give you a tour of his mausoleum." It had to have been a very quick tour, because the next thing he said was, "You better make tracks and tell the fabulous Jesus boys he's up and around. And check this out, he's out ahead of you on his way to Galilee, and you can catch up with him there." He wrapped it up by saying, "Anyways, consider yourselves told." So the Marys burned rubber, but with some amount of ambivalence. It was a mix of being scared to death and ecstasy. Always an uncomfortable combination, to be sure. But they made a beeline for the Jesus boys. However, on the way there, the J-Man himself doubled back to give them a surprise. When they ran into him, he said, "Check it out." So the Marys took a dive and latched onto his lower extremities so they could do some worshiping. Jesus told them, "Hey, don't flip out. Pass the word to the boys that they need to haul ass to Galilee, because that's where we're going to do a meetup." But while they were en route, some of the people who were supposed to have been keeping an eye on the grave headed into town and caught up with the top religious hoo-has. They gave them the rundown and got them up to speed on the situation. So the hoo-has and the top patriarchal types had a powwow and busted out a time-honored solution: bribery. They handed the soldiers some serious coin and said, "Here's your story. You were taking a nap when the fabulous Jesus boys pulled the dead body heist. And don't worry, if the governor catches wind of it, we'll take care of it. We got your back." That worked for the soldiers. They got a little richer and did their bit, and that's the story that's still making the rounds in temples and bar mitzvahs to this very day. The fabulous Jesus boys had done a midnight corpse grab. Meanwhile, the fabulous Jesus boys were down to a lean roster of 11 men, because Judas had either given back the cash and hung himself, or he'd bought some land with it and his bowels exploded, depending on which magic scroll you read years later when it all went to press. Anyway, they all hit Galilee and headed up to a secret mountain meeting spot that Jesus had told them about. Now, when they got a load of him, they totally gave him the love. However, some of them had reservations. Whatever these doubts were, the Big J put them at ease with a very important presentation, in which he clued them in as to just how much power he'd now been given in the Sky House and down here. And that amount was all of it. But it wasn't just a goosebump-inspiring TED Talk. He didn't leave without assigning some pretty heavy homework. He said, 1. Go to every country. 2. Export your values. 3. Immerse everyone and give it up for the Sky King, his son, and that elusive Holy Spirit while you're doing it. Of course, whether immerse means underwater, under droplets of water, or in the Holy Spirit would be a rich discussion over the next 2 millennia, occasionally resulting in people setting each other on fire to prove one side or the other, which, incidentally, would become ensconced as the premier method for determining truth in religious conflicts. If you could set the other guy on fire before he set you on fire, or even just marginalize him, then you were right. But the J-Man gave them one more directive. Number 4, get everybody to follow all the instructions that I gave you guys. And he said, no matter what, when, or where, you'll always be able to feel me. All the way up to when this whole place goes up in smoke. Word. Next in this series, we'll move back in time to Genesis chapter 1. Spoiler, you can't get a universe from nothing, or for nothing. And we'll be paying this one off for the rest of our lives. As always, I'm not a religious figure, but if you want me to save you or damn you to hell, I'll do my best.